Believe it or not, it's week 4 already. And Amy's here with me. Thank you, Amy, for representing your class. And hopefully she'll ask awesome questions. I know she will, in case you guys run into some issues with the recording. But thank you again for being here, Amy. It really makes a difference when you guys come, because it does give us an opportunity to have people to interact with, and if you have questions, then we can help answer your questions. All right, so week 4, we are at the end of just learning basics of Illustrator. We're going to review some areas from last week. We're going to go through the discussion, assignment, and assessment for this week. We're going to do a demo. I did just talk to Christina, and Christina is going to do a video for you for your assessment. So she's going to do a process that walks through it. I'll walk through a few elements that you might want to know and make sure you understand for that. And then I'll spend a little bit more time on the assignment. And at the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a bunch of different tools. And I included in the announcements, hey Jasmine, I included in the announcements the files that I'm going to be using today, so you guys can follow along with the files that I have access to. Hey Jasmine. So feel free to go grab those before we start, and then if you guys want to, it might be easier to watch, to do those along with the video rather than trying to do them while for the people that are here, you guys might want to do them later. But the reason that I do that is you guys are just filled with videos now. When I started studying graphic design in the early 2000s, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have 5 gazillion videos out there on just about any topic that you might want. So I'm going to introduce you to ideas and concepts, and know that you can go out and find additional videos. A lot of the topics that we're going to be discussing will be taught in intermediate and advanced Illustrator. So you guys will be able to take those with your bachelor's degree. You'll be taking those other classes and get to have those upper level course pieces as well. Super cool stuff. It's just taking some of the stuff that we're going to talk about and bouncing it to the next level. And then you guys have some great teachers up there. I think Christina, she might teach intermediate or advanced. I think Jason Merrill might teach intermediate advanced. I just basically teach beginner stuff. So this is my sweet spot right here. There's all kinds of new stuff that they're coming out with, and you guys will find that when you're working through Illustrator, that they keep changing things. So you're like, and right here is this thing, and then you get in there and find it. Hey Derek, and oh, he can't hear me yet, and find out that they've just made a change to it. So you've got something totally different in there. So that's always interesting. Hey Derek. So let's kind of walk through some of the stuff. We're going to talk a little bit more about Shape Builder. I will spend a little bit of time with it. I think we've introduced it. I've introduced it when I'm glad you're here. When I started talking about the bear in the first week. So I'm not spending a lot of time with that, but I will spend a lot of time on transform, distort. I'm going to talk about the blend tool. I'm going to talk about live trace and live paint. So I'm going to talk about both of those so that you guys get a chance to see those. And again, videos on YouTube, the other advanced classes, you guys will get more of a chance to play with some of those. Okay, so discussion for this week. Again, we've got our scenarios again, and your boss has approached you. They've heard about Creative Cloud Libraries. So CC just means Creative Cloud Libraries. And they're wondering which the following clients it might work for. So when you guys go into Illustrator, one of the things that will show up when you're working with Illustrator is the libraries. And you can create libraries for different clients. So you might have a library, and inside that library you have the font. You have the colors, just the specific colors you're using for that client. You might have any styles. So if you work with InDesign, you're going to have styles. You'll have different styles. So you can search your library and go through and find something that you want, and your library will store the information. So group it by client maybe. And what this does is it you can share the libraries across groups. If you're working for a company, so I used to work for Dish Network. I didn't do graphic design for them. I was a corporate trainer for them. But one of the things that came out was they realized their colors were so similar to, I think can't remember which one it was that was, orange. But the reddish orange color that they use was really similar to another company. And you'll find out companies will brand the actual color. So they might use the the specific colors. Also, my brain just went blank. It's called Pantone. So your Pantone colors that you would use when you go to a print shop, and they usually have you guys ever done the painting, like when you go to paint your house and you go to the paint shop and they have all those little pieces of paper with strips of color, and then you're able to choose the color that you want based on the little strips, and then you can get like samples if you want to and take them home and paint them. Well, they have the same kind of thing when you go into a print shop, and you can pick colors from there. And they picked their color, and this was the specific color that's associated with them. So they branded themselves with a color, and you'll see a lot of companies do that. Dell has a specific color blue that they use. And so there's a lot of elements that you might want to store that's going to be specific to your client. But think about how much time it's going to save you if you're just going to go in here to your library, you type in the name of the customer, you have all the stuff that you need. You have any images that maybe you used in the past, put images in there. You can put your styles, so whatever thing you use for your text. You can put in your fonts, colors, brush strokes, just about anything that you can think of, you can put back here in your library and store it based on the client. So libraries are pretty cool, just in general, and this is something that's newer, certainly to the Creative Cloud. So I have nothing in mind. It's just because I'm not used to using them, but I think as you guys are coming up, you want to be able to use this kind of stuff. You want to have access to these kinds of tools so that you can save some time. They've gotten smarter with things as time's gone by, so you guys got cool stuff. All right, so let's think about those. So that there's the library, and then the client A, regular customer with auto parts store. They bring in a project every single week. So that's a good sign, every single week. The project requires the manufacturer's logo. So you're using something the same over and over again. So the manufacturer's logo is used over and over again. Photos from parts are used over and over again. Pricing is used over and over again. So they handle parts from just 5 manufacturers. They create large banners, so the banner you can save. And they highlight different things. So do you think, based on what I've told you about libraries, that it might be beneficial for you to use a Creative Cloud library in this context? Hey, Amy, she's back. What do you think? Derek thinks so? Yeah, in this case, this client is the one that seems would be a good one. That's always fun when it just decides to update on its own. Yeah, you're like, this is not now. Yeah, I've had to do all kinds of funky things when I'm trying to teach a class, so it's always been entertaining. Okay, so client B, once a month, they have, let me scooch this over just a hair. Overall format, logos, typeface, always the same. Elements within change every month. So what do you think? Is there anything that you might save out of client B to a library that you think might be beneficial? The format? Yeah, and they're giving you logos and typeface too, right? So any of those elements you guys can save. Client C, marketing company that specializes in marketing material for dentist's office, pre-formatted brochures. So we're not creating the brochures. The only thing that we're creating is the logos. So they're doing pre-formatted brochures and websites, but your client C, is only looking at you to do logo work. So is there something that we might save in the library for this one? Maybe colors, if they have a particular thing. No, not really any formats or anything, right? So I've had students in the past say, hey, maybe you might want to save the old logos just so that you know what you created in the past. But in this case, I'm not really going to be using my library to keep track of information. The other thing that's cool about the libraries is that you guys can share them with other people. So if you go to create a library, you can share them with other people. So let's take a look at this, and it says, based on what you have, would it be beneficial to create a library for this company? So I would look at each company and answer these questions. So we talked about this question for each one. And then the second question asks for each one, what elements would you recommend housing in the library and why? And the third question, are there any disadvantages to using the CC library? Now I can give you guys one that has shown up based on some of the research, and that is that there are times when someone can actually delete something from the library. So it is a good idea to keep your files on your format. So if you don't share, it's not a problem. But you can actually delete stuff from there. I guess you might do it yourself on accident. I've certainly done my fair share of boo-boos. Yeah, and so you might take a look at that and see what you guys can come up with for that. But again, 3 scenarios. And in this case, there's one that's kind of a little bit stronger for sure, just because of time. But I think when we look at anything that we might be able to save and reuse, think about you guys just sharing that library and just being able to bring it up, and everybody knows what fonts you're using, everybody knows what colors you're using, everybody knows what banners you're using, so that you can create a branding again. So you have elements that look the same from posting to posting. Has anybody worked on a newsletter before in here? Like a company newsletter? Anything like that? Yeah. So can you see the benefits of having some of this, Amy, if you had some of those elements saved? I think too, we might just save the old one and just do it on top of it, but yeah, for sure. All right, so for your assignment this week, what you guys are gonna do is you're gonna create a family crest. And you're gonna be using a lot of your tools that you've been using so far. And you're gonna be kind of combining those together. And I'm gonna show you guys some samples of ones I've done in the past, and we'll walk through one. You're gonna create a background shield. I have a template for you, and I stuck it in the file that I sent out before class that it's in the announcements, and was sent out before class with the files I'm gonna be using today, and this is one of the files that's in there. You're going to create a foreground ribbon or banner of some type. You're going to create a simple graphic that represents your family or symbol. And then you're going to spell out your name. It's going to be 8 by 8, and you can use colors, effects. You can play with that. I would like you guys to convert your text to outlines so we can see it. I may not have your particular font, so I do want to make sure that I'm actually able to read it. So you're gonna convert your text to outlines. That's part of the requirement. And then the same formatting that we've been using for saving out your file is the same here. It's just gonna be, again, the native file for that. So here's some examples. I can tell you guys there's one element on this I'm not super fond of, and that's the guns, and that's just because of contrast. So what do I mean by contrast? in this context? Any ideas? They don't stand out. Yes, the color values are too close. So that red that's in the background, the intensity of the color is really, really similar to the intensity of the black. And it blends in and I can't see it. But if you look at the difference between the gold and the burgundy color, those really pop against each other. So those have good contrast. So I would have done something lighter with the guns so that we can at least see them. But you guys can see in this case, they put the banner on the inside. In this case, they put the banner on the outside. And then they placed Ireland on this one. They actually placed US Army on this one. You could put the name on them. They did a clover here for theirs. And then this week's for the assessment, like I mentioned, Christine is going to create a recording for you guys so that you can see the steps. But I'm going to talk you guys through it a little bit. Follow the instructions on the attached sheet and practice it. In the past, this assignment used to be that students had to actually create a video. So they created their own video and showed how to do this. And they took that away and they just make this that you're gonna, yeah, you don't have to record yourself anymore. So that part's gone. You just have to actually follow the instructions. And then you're gonna submit it. Don't worry about submitting the MP4, just submit the Illustrator file. All right. So do you guys have any questions before I move on? All right. So just really quickly, I pulled up a couple of the assessments I had from week 2. And guys, I have a ton of files open in here. So if you guys look, these little double arrows show up because I have a bunch of files open in here. You can grab them here. You can also go to Window and go to the very bottom, and you'll see all the files I have open down here. So when you open a lot of files, there are ways to grab them. It's just, you know, that's a little bit complicated. Okay. So the reason I brought this up is I had a couple people on their assessment not convert the file over. So let me just remind you guys how to do that. So when you created your first one and you go to do your second one, what you need to do is you need to just duplicate this one. I'm going to click on this one just because this one's already been converted. Remember that you're going to go up here to type and create outlines. If you're currently on the type tool, it won't give you the opportunity to create outlines. That will be grayed out. So go back out and click back on the black or white arrow tool, or if you click out and come back in to type tool, it should let you do it. But know that if it's grayed out, just go to your black or white arrow tool and then create outlines will be available to you. And the other thing I was looking for is for people to actually manipulate it. So I changed the size on this. So that was one element that I did. I moved the letters around, played with size. I don't know that I pulled that many points on here, but I definitely wanted you guys to play with some of the points on there just to make that be different. Now this thing's kind of cool. If you guys look, it creates sort of a cool effect. Let me see if I can get to that. And I'm not sure there it is. Okay, let me show you what it looks like. So when you put a flare on something, it kind of creates this thing. If you look at it, what it looks like without being behind, it's meant to combine with something else. That's kind of what it looks like. It's not really that interesting. I'm trying to click off of it. Let me click on this. So that's kind of what it looks like by itself, but it really does interact with what it has in front of it and kind of creates this cool sun ray effect. And that's actually located right here under your shapes, and it's called the flare tool. So that can be kind of fun to play with. And then what I did on this one too, if you guys look right here, you can see that I have the 3D on this one. So I did a little 3D on my S. Go back to my appearance here. I'm getting the blue swirl of death here. Oh no. That would be bad. Apparently I unplugged myself. Let me fix that. So we don't have that problem. Okay, so it's mad because I don't have enough memory to make that work. But let me click on this again just so you guys can see. Thank you for sharing. Okay. But there's the extrude and bevel. So if I wanted to go back and manipulate it again, I have that feature right here, and I'd be able to get that access to that information. Here's another one that I did. I think I showed you guys this one last class. Again, I created outlines on my second artboard. So when I created this, apparently I had a different font. I don't have that font anymore. So this was the original font, and this is what it looked like. Because once I created it into outlines, it's now objects, and then anybody can pretty much read it if I don't have the font. So this is what it looks like on mine when I don't have your font. But if you converted it to outlines, I can see it on the second artboard. And then this is the one I created last class. So again, pulling points on this just to make things be distinct from what it was before, playing with size. You can still do strokes and fills on these. It's not like you can't do a stroke and a fill on it. You can. So I can do a stroke and a fill. So I can do red. And I can do black, stroke. So I can play with those too. Gradients don't necessarily play quite the same. Let me see if I can do a gradient on this. Select it. I did convert this to outlines, so let me try it on this one. I don't think we can do gradients yet. It's not even giving me the option to do a gradient on that one. Yeah, it's not doing gradients. So you do need to have the conversion to do the gradient. But adding the stroke and the fill, no big deal, no problem. So that's kind of what I was looking for on that one. Just make sure that you guys convert those points to outlines and that you actually pulled some points, did something unique with it, so that we ended up with something a little bit different. Let me close those out. Okay. I have a couple of assignment 4s here that I did in previous terms. So this one right here is a symbol. So the butterflies are a symbol. So I'll see if I can show you guys how to use the symbol sprayer on that one. So just so you guys get an example. And then this is another one that I did in a previous class, just as a demonstration. Come back. Come back. So there's the 8x8 background. So if you click on the artboard tool right here, you'll see that it's 8x8. You can see it in the properties as well. And then this was a symbol that is my last name. So the heart with the Z in the middle of it, that's my last name. So I did the symbol. And on this one, I just did butterflies and mountains. I'm in Colorado. Screen share is off. Okay, thank you. Let's see if I can pop that back on. Yeah, I need you guys. Otherwise, I'd be doing the whole class without my screen share. That would be bad. Better? Okay, thank you. Yeah. So I live in Colorado, so I just did some mountains, and then since you guys probably didn't see this one, this is the, again, mountains, and then this is just a symbol for my name. Okay? Yeah, it seemed like it had a moment, and I had a weird thing show up on my screen, so I just didn't realize that it was kicking me out of share screen. So thank you for letting me know. All right. So let's kind of talk just real briefly through the assessment and stuff and just make sure that you guys are solid with that. And then let me find the one I put in student view here. There it is. Got one that's in student view, so you guys aren't seeing 5 gazillion things over there. Okay, so here we are at week 4. There's your discussion post. Again, I'll be making my second discussion post tomorrow. But I did go through and talk about a bunch of the different elements that can show up in the library. And then this was this is an image of some of the information that you can have in there, and then just how to manage them. So lots of goodies here with the Creative Cloud libraries, lots of ways that you can do it. So I didn't really answer the 3 questions here. I gave you more some background information that might be helpful to you for my discussion post, the first one. Okay, so here's your assignment. There's an example of one that somebody did right here. So this is them doing Florida. Imagine that they have an 8x8 artboard that's behind this, and then this was created on top of it. There's some little videos in there to help show you how to use some of the tools. And then this was the elements I already discussed for you guys in the from the PowerPoint. Here's a couple of samples. You guys already saw these in the PowerPoint. There's the McBride one. This one should be the Croft one. And then there's the grading rubric. So pretty basic. I mean, most of the points are here. Like, did you do your shield? Do you have your name? Do you have all the elements that are there? The thing that you guys want to think about right here, when you guys take DES109, this is generally where we talk about that. But you remember up here in this one right here, the Croft one, I mentioned that we didn't have good contrast. So it's funny when we talk about this because it spells out the word crap. So we laugh because it's like, hee hee. You know, it's the acronym CRAP. But what they say is when we're looking at a design, you want to make sure that your elements have things that make sense there. So I want to make sure that there's good contrast, there's good separation in color, so that everything that I have there is going to stand out and be unique. Unless I'm not trying to do that, I'm just trying to make maybe a pattern. Repetition, if you look up here again, repetition, we've got lots of stars. We've got the use of color. We've got the use of the guns that are repeating each other on both sides. So again, repetition is showing that things are elements that go together because they have relationship to each other. So repetition's another element that shows relationship. Alignment, so how things are aligned. If everything's aligned together and one thing's different, what happens with that one thing that's different? Any idea? What happens to your eye if you have one thing that's different? Looks out of place, or that it just draws your attention to it. If you want to cause people to pay attention to something, you align everything else and put that one thing out of alignment. So it forces people to look at something that they may not normally look at. And then the last one is proximity. So that's when things are close or near to each other. If they're close or near to each other, it suggests that they have a relationship with each other. So when you guys are going through and designing this, think about that. I generally want to have repetition because it gives consistency to my design, and it suggests that everything belongs together. Use elements like repetition. Again, all these elements you kind of want to use, and if you break the rule, do it with intention. So I'm going to align everything, and I probably, maybe if I have something that's centered, then that's maybe going to contrast because it's unique, it's different from everything else. If we look at our little guy up here, they're sticking a lot with the same colors, right? So we have repetition of this orange color, repetition of the blue color that shows up in here. We have shapes that cross over each other, suggesting that there's some connection between them. So the artist that drew this made a connection between all three because the dolphin's cutting through them all, giving them all a connection. Does that make sense? So this is every term or so you usually have, like in these introductory classes, you guys have like one thing that can kind of be your own design. And we can kind of say that last week with your name, that was kind of creative. A little bit with the template that we use to create your little heads, but that element was you know, off of a template. This is going to be something that would be creative that you might want to hold on to, and maybe you develop it more and use it as in your portfolio class. I think we covered it all, didn't we? Okay. All right. So for this one, if you guys look at this right here, this is a little miniature of what you want the whole thing to look like. You're going to come down here and you're going to click on the worksheet right here. And you're going to follow the instructions here. So you're going to start off with a document that's 8.5 by 11. You're going to start with 3 squares that are you're going to have 3 squares that are 1.5 by 1.5. And then you're going to fill the squares with 3 different colors and no stroke. So if you look up here at this one, so they created the 3 squares, and then they made them with no stroke. They distributed them. So I can show you guys just quickly how to distribute things. Then you're going to fill them with 3 colors, no stroke. It's kind of cool if you guys stick with the same shade, and then just tinting means that I'm making it lighter, shading means I'm making it darker, so that you kind of have this effect at the end when you're done. Then the next step is to transform these. So when you transform things, one of the tools that's really helpful to use is this dude over here. So let me just start us off with 8.5 by 8.5. And I'll just at least give you guys an idea about how we can, I'll just do it with 1 square. And then Christina will do the rest for you and help you all out. Okay, well I have 2 artboards, I only need 1, but I can get rid of that one. So I'm click right here. Make sure I'm on my second artboard, hit the trash can, 8.5 by 11. Okay, so when I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do my rectangle, scooch this guy over, and I'm going to build it, I can use the tools that I have over here in my properties. I can use tools I have across the top of my screen as well. So lots of these tools are here to help me make sure I have things done in an accurate format. I can't see this over here, so I might have to move things around, but you guys can. So, okay, so I'm going to do a rectangle. A rectangle would be helpful, not an ellipse. Okay, so I'm going to click and I'm going to draw this out. So you guys can see I can do it to some degree right here. I've got the little marks, the height and width right here underneath. So I'm going to pull it out to about 1.5, get 1.49. Then I can change it to 1.5 over here. And then what you guys can do is you can then duplicate it. So somebody's mad here. Hold on, I can't see why it's mad. They wanted me to make a new one. Okay. So you guys will see I have my 1.5 by 1.5 right here. And then I can always duplicate it. Sorry, it's fighting me a little bit. By just clicking on it and holding down the Alt or Option key, and then just dragging it out. And then you guys have the tools over here, which are, let me see if they're over on this side. Right here you have your line, and you guys can use the align tool to make sure that you have everything aligned well. Yeah, I did pretty good. It was giving me clues, so I knew. And then you can take care of the color. Now, one of the things that you can do that makes life a little bit easier for you is if you could drag your cursor across all these, and then you can place a color on all of them at the same time. So let me go with some medium green. And then I'm going to take the stroke off of them all as well. And then here, I'm just going to click on this guy, give it a darker green. Oops, let's my fault. It's a medium green. It's a light green. Okay. So the idea is that I'm working with those together. Now, if we look right there, it says transform all heights. So I can transform the heights of all of them right there. So I can transform the height of those to be 86.062%. I'm sorry, guys, it keeps doing that. I'm just trying to move around so I can see. My fault. 86.026%, and then I hit the enter key. And you'll see that it all shrinks them. So before I do that, I'm going to duplicate it. And then, come on. Okay. And then I'll do that at 86.062% or whatever it is. And you'll see that I'm creating a new one. And then I'm going to just duplicate that. I'm holding on the Option or Alt key. And I just keep duplicating it. Then it's going to ask me to do things like skew certain ones. I have my skew over here. I have my skew over here so I can play with my skew. So you guys can kind of just play with those as you go. The other thing I can do up here under Object, Transform, I also have my scale and my skew here. So shear, scale, reflect, rotate, move. So you guys can play with those in that manner as well. Cool? And so you would just walk through the instructions and rotate the first one 30 degrees, and then ultimately ends, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. So you see how I'm duplicating each level as we go? And then by the time I'm done, then I'm going to skew them, and then I'm going to have these points, and I do this last one. I think it's last. Then what you guys want to do is make sure you zoom in on that last little box to make sure that last little box looks beautiful. Cool? And Christine is going to hook you guys up with your stuff though. So watch for her video. You can just follow the instructions. And it should end up with this when you're done. It'll just be on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Yeah, it's not hard. It's not meant to be hard. It's just really meant to, can you follow the instructions? Look at these different tools. Here's just a way of experiencing multiple tools in an easy way. Good? Okay. So let's go ahead and do the next one, which is we're going to go do new. Only need one artboard. I'm going to do 8. Is it supposed to be 8 by 8? I think it's 8 by 8. 8 by 8, straight up. Okay. I'm going to do 8 by 8, 8. Okay. So here's my artboard again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring in my template. So I'm going to go here to File, and I'm going to go to Place. And in that file that I gave you guys, that was the zipped file, just click right here on the template, assignment for template, and you'll get this little guy. And what this has on it that is kind of cool is all these little shields. And I'm going to make this be a template layer. And you guys can use other shields if you want to, but this is just a good one to have as a resource. So I'm going to click on the picture. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to leave it at 100%. I'm going to call it template. I'm going to make a new layer because it won't be able to draw on that. And then I'm going to pick which one of these shields that I want to do. So I'm going to show you guys some easier tricks with it. The simpler it is, the easier it is to use this technique I'm going to show you guys. I've never done this guy down here in the corner before, so I'm going to do him. Now, I'm going to enlarge it. I'm going to do it small now, and we're just going to make it bigger in just a sec. Okay. And then I'm just going to use my pencil just to go around it. Make sure you close your shape so you can use some color. I'm just going to go make some quick adjustments here. I think I want to use something other than black on that. Go for something light. It's a little hard to see. Okay. Smooth out some of those. Ooh, that looks wonky. There we go. I'm just going to take this handle and shove it in. I'll make that be more straight. Okay. Hold my handles a little bit, make that a little bit smoother. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're actually going to, you're going to still have to play with it a little bit, but we're going to make sure that we have it selected. Do it with your black arrow tool. So deselect the whole thing and then reselect it with the black arrow tool. If you don't do that, if you have the white arrow tool selected at that moment, sometimes you'll end up with one point and that's all it's manipulating, and you don't want that. You want to do the whole object. So we're going to go to Object, Transform and Scale. And I'm going to take this down to about 95. I'm going to hit Tab so it doesn't kick me out. Nope. Let's take it down to 90. That's pretty close. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm just going to play with it just a little bit. I'm going to pull this up. Go with my white arrow tool, make some quick adjustments here. Down. Fortunately, it doesn't scale exactly the way we want it to, but we're pretty close. We'll get something close. Take that down. Do that by hand. I was using my arrow keys, and I think it's better for me to do it by hand. Okay, so what I can do now is I can just take my background one and I can make that be filled with one color. So let's go ahead and just choose the background. Let's go with a green. Flip my stroke and my fill. This one I'm going to do with I have a pink color. And I want my stroke maybe to have a darker one. Okay. You guys with me so far? Okay. Now I'm going to pull some of this stuff in so that I can see what I'm doing. And I won't be flashing back and forth. So my apologies on earlier where I kept flashing. I just couldn't see my tools. I've got you guys hanging out over here on the side and I can't see. as well. I'm going to scoot you over a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my template layer. I don't need that. I've got it down here and it's too small. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to group it. And then I'm going to call this shield. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to finish this guy off and I'm going to make him bigger. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and make sure I maintain proportions. I'm grabbing in the corner. I'm going to put my banner across the bottom down there, so I'm going to push it up a little bit more towards the top. Okay, now it asks you to create a banner. I'm going to show you guys a really easy way to create a banner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pencil. I need to be on my next layer. So I'm going to use my pencil and I'm going to draw like a shape. This is my banner to go across. And get rid of my fill. And I'm going to go up here to my, I'm going to hit the enter key to close that shape off. I'm going to go up here to my brushes. I'm going to come over here to my library. And I'm going to go to I'm looking for it. Hold on just a sec. Banners and seals. Now, the challenge with the banners and the seals is I have not figured out how to change the color on them. So the color that you have is kind of the color you're stuck with. So sorry, I don't have that ability. I've tried multiple ways of figuring out how to change it. You guys might go to YouTube and see what you can find about how to make this different. But I'm going to go with this one, I think. And I don't know that I like it that bent. So I'm going to play with my points here. Maybe I'm gonna, ooh, that's kind of wonky. Do something like that. Okay. Now, if you want your banner to be bigger using this particular method, what you're gonna do is you're gonna increase your stroke. So we're gonna increase our stroke so we can put more on it. Now, I don't know if I like this one be clear through it, but I'm gonna go with it just for now. I'm gonna duplicate this. See if I can duplicate the line and see if it lets me. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take off the stroke off of it. And I'm gonna actually put text on it instead. So let me just see if it lets me do it here. Okay. I'm gonna put my name on there. I'm gonna bump up the size. So what I did was I used this tool over here underneath your type tool as type on a path tool. So I picked the same path that I had drawn this one with and placed it on top of that same path. I'm gonna play with the size and the font and all that stuff here. Let me make sure I actually have it selected. Knows what it's changing. Well, that's kind of fun. There you go. Let's put weird things on my screen at the same time. Let's go for something interesting. I want it to be a little bit bigger. And feel free to play with this if you guys want to pull points on this. I'm going to choose this Christina one. Now sometimes right here, if you look, they'll have other options like bold and italic. I didn't choose one that had a lot of choices on it, so there's not like a lot of options here. Then I'm going to choose a font size. Okay. Now if I go back and I click my line again, you can see I can play with the alignment of things. I can still bump it up more, so maybe I want to bump it up a little bit more. And with using this tool, I can play with the alignment of things. So if I get my, let's try the white arrow. Oh, yeah. See how it looks like a sideways T? I can play with where it sits on the line. I kind of move that back and forth. I'm trying to get it right about the center here. This is where I can flip it if I want to. Let me move it down. Let's just see if we got it in about the right place. I can still go back and play with my lines over here. And notice I'm using the white arrow tool. I don't super duper like that because it's hard to see. Not good contrast. Let me see if I can choose a different brush stroke. Make sure I have the right line here. Okay, I think I do. Yeah. Let's go for something else. I can't really see that. Let's go for that one. Oh, look, there's a thingy for Old Chicago. Yay! Okay. Then maybe I can use that green, make that green a little bit deeper on the back of that. Not sure why I have pink, but okay. Okay, let's see if I can make that a little bit deeper. It's pretty close to that one. And I can make it be even more the same by putting a stroke on it. So that would be helpful. Do a black stroke and then it matches my stroke a little bit. Pick off the stroke. I'll just stroke on just the outside. If you select from here, it's just another way of just making sure that you're selecting just what you want to select. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of repetition, right? So I have the black, the same type of green here and here. I'm using the black border just like it has on this. What I could do too is I can make this pink on the inside be white, and then that might match with that even more. So I'll make the stroke on this be white. I'm not in love with that pink. What do you guys think? What should we go for? Maybe should we go with a really light color green? Ooh, not that. Ugh. Looks like somebody got sick. I'm just going to go straight this way. And then I'm going to go straight up. Okay. So now I've got my shield. Now I have my name. Let me go ahead and create a little background. So I'm going to do new layer. I'm going to drag it below my shield. Just like my background. And then let's go to patterns. And let's see what kind of things they give me. That's super obnoxious. That kind of is interesting. But I can play with opacity on maybe. Maybe a little pattern. Let me see if I can play with opacity on that. It's not quite as intense. Okay. Okay. So now I need to put something inside my shield that is representative of me, my family. I'm actually going to do a cat. So let's see if I can draw a cat. Actually, let me just do a little short. Okay. So let's give it a little bit of a color. Let's go with, I've got like an orange, one of my cats is like an orange cat. So we'll go with like this color. And the reason it's not showing up is why? What's the problem? Why isn't it showing up? I just put a color on. Any ideas? Yes, good job, both of you. You're right, it's hanging out back here. So I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna click on the little box next to it and drag it up. It needs to be above shield layer. So I'm gonna take it up here. Actually, put it at the very top. And now you guys can see my kitty. Okay, so let me play with my points here. So we can make it look a little bit more like a cat. Push that in a little bit. Kind of cat-ish. Okay, that's, I need to convert that to a, with the handle here. Okay. All right. And then what I would do is I would just really play with it. Let me see. Little eyeball here. Now, it's okay, I'm kind of duplicating that same green, so we got a little green thing going on here. I'm going to play a little bit with the gradient here. Let me just do another smaller circle. Get rid of my stroke. See if I have anything I might want to start with here. And then leave the yellow. Pull these guys off. I'm going to go with green. Pull this one off. Then make it be radial. I'm going to do that. I'm going to squish it. I'm going to rotate it. Come on, rotate. Where's my rotate? There it is. And make it longer. And make it be have a really dark color there. I'm just going to make my stroke smaller. You guys have a lot of control over what happens with your stroke here, so. And then I would just finish it off. I mean, I'm not going to be able to spend all my time. I just want to make sure that you guys have something to like think about when you're creating this. I'm going to group them. Size. A little bit creepy cat. A little creepy cat thing going on there. Wait, I would go ahead and finish this. So let's just make sure. Let me see if I have most of the elements in here that I need to have. So let's go here. I need to have a background shield. I need to have a ribbon. I need to have a symbol. And I need to have my family name spelled out. And then I need to make sure that I create this in outline format. So once I've done that, once I get the type and I'm happy with the way that it's going to look, I'm going to come down here and create outlines so that my name's converted over. And then I did an 8.5 by 8.5. And then you guys can really play with this. So does this make sense to you guys, just in general? So you get an idea? Okay. So again, these are some of the other ones I've done in the past. So this is just, I did the shield. This is the shield shape. This is the banner that I used. On the outside of mine, I just put a color, and then I just put a brush stroke on, a border brush stroke on for the outside of my piece right there. This one, let me show you guys some symbols. So this is just a texture again, another border like I did on mine. It's just a different one. This is just a different banner. I drew my little mountains. I made my little sun, and I used the glare tool to create a little bit more of the light coming off of it. So just a different shield shape. And then I'll show you some of the other tools. So if you guys are feeling okay with that process, can I show you some other things that you guys can play with for this? Okay, cool. All right. So one of the things I do want to show you guys is I want to show you the blend tool, and I want to show you the symbol tool. Oops. Okay. So let's start with a symbol, and I think these could be really fun for you. They are vector, so they are really awesome. They're right here under this thing that looks like a club, if you guys do cards. Hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades. And then you can see all kinds of symbols in here. So I managed to click off nature so we can pull nature. You'll also notice I have 3D ones in there. There's other ones I can play with. But let me just show you how this one works. This is pretty cool. All I'm going to do is let me go and play with this ladybug right here. I'm just going to click and drag her off onto my desktop. You can see I can make it as big or as small as I want to. Now, I can edit symbol, but it will change the whole thing, or I can just break link. What I want to do is I'm going to break link. And what this does is it now makes my little guy here editable, so I can play with him now. Sorry. Let me just switch this over a little bit more so I can see what I'm doing. So you can use your white arrow tool to select it, select the individual pieces that you want to change. So let me just use that. We'll just use this orange part right here, and then let's just make that be blue. Or green. Let's make it blue. Okay. And then let's click on this part right here, and let's make this be a darker blue. And then let's click on the little dots. I'm going to hold down my control key. Oops. It must be grouped. Hold on the control key. Okay, it select all those at the same time. That was nice of it. Those must also be grouped, and we're going to make those be yellow. You can see I'm actually changing my little bug, and let's just say the outside of him, I want to make that be red. Okay. So now I've just essentially created a new ladybug. So what I can do now is I can actually take that ladybug, and I can go back to my symbol, and I can click down here where it says new symbol, and I'm going to call it blue bug. I usually just do it as a graphic, and I hit OK. Now I don't actually need this little guy anymore. If I need him again, I can drag him out from right here. Come on, let me delete it. Delete. Delete. Well, alrighty. That's a little unique key. Since I'm in church, I can do what I want. Actually, make a new layer, and then I can throw that one away. Okay. Now right over here, there's these really cool tools. I'm gonna click on this little sprayer right here. And then the first thing you'll see is that the sprayer tool comes out. Now I can make this larger, smaller. It's the same thing with your brush stroke. If you use the bracket keys that are near the, above the enter key or return key, and I can hit the one on the left to make it smaller, the one on the right to make it bigger. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna spray out my shape, whatever that symbol is. The banner on the shield, do we have to use a brush, or can you can draw one if you want one yourself if you want, Amy. They can be kind of complicated to draw, but you can create your own. Just, yeah, that's fine. So once I draw out my little ladybugs that I just created, I can also shift them. So this allows me to kind of play with it and make it a little bit more random as far as how they're placed. So I can do a little bit of that. I can scrunch them. So some of them will be a little closer together. If I hold down the Option key or Alt key, it does the opposite. So I can make them spread here. Okay, then I can size them. So if I click on them, I can make them bigger. Or if I hold down the Option key, come on, I can make them smaller. Like that. I can spin them, make them go different directions so everybody's not facing the same way. I can color them. Now I need to put a color in here. Let's just do this gold color and see if it'll work here. I'm going to stain them this new color. The more I hold down my mouse, the more that color it becomes. I can screen it and I can style it. It just has to do with making things be lighter. And then style, I can pull from my styles over here. And that's not necessarily the best thing. Sometimes it just ends up with weird effects. My bugs now look like that thing. Yeah, they're trapped inside of a box. So symbols can be really awesome. You guys will find lots of them out there. You'll find some that you might be able to find online. You can create your own symbol, and then you can duplicate it. So you could do like a leaf pattern that you might want to put around the outside of your piece, and you can make that be a symbol and spray it with the sprayer over here. I was working with someone a couple of weeks ago, and what we were doing is we were creating a brush stroke. So you can do the same thing kind of with a brush stroke. Let me go grab my pencil real quick. So let me just do an ellipse. Let me come up here to this point, push it in. Let me come to this point down here, pull it out a little bit. Okay, maybe I'm creating a little bit of a leaf, right? So I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna place a color on it that looks more like a leaf. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to reflect it. Okay. Maybe I'm going to create something like this. Maybe I want to make some of those colors be a little bit different. Go for a darker color. Make this one be maybe lighter. Okay. Then I put my cursor over the top of it. I can come over here to my brushes. I can click right here where it says new brush. Now, one that seems to work out well is just to do a scatter brush, and I'm going to hit OK. Call it leaves. And I'm going to make it all be random. And hit OK. Then what I can do is I can draw a line. And then I'm gonna hit enter just to close it. I'm gonna apply my brush and get rid of my fill. And you guys can see I've created like a little leaf pattern that I can use around the outside of something, like a border. Does this make sense? So on this one right here, I took a butterfly and I sprayed it. So that's using the sprayer. So if you go to your symbols, there's the butterfly right there. I just used the sprayer and I just sprayed butterflies. You know, that's one way to do it. This is an example where I'm creating my own. Where did I do that? Oh, well, that's it. Come back. It's my cool little leaf I was making. There it is. Okay. So this is just another example of being able to create something that is your own cool thing, and you can do that with symbols, and you can spray them with the sprayer, or you can use it as a brush stroke. You guys will find all kinds of cool brush strokes in here. If you look, a lot of times they're like scatter brushes. Let me see if I can find. Because some of these are kind of fun. You can use them like little party fun. Like a little party. Whee! These are some examples. Once you guys have them up here, you can double click on them and modify them. So right now the size is fixed, but there's random spacing and fixed rotation, but maybe I want to make that be random too. And maybe I want to make the size be random, so that changes the way that brush is going to operate. And maybe when I go to apply that again to this, I'm going to get a slightly different effect. Right, you see how we kind of changed it? Yeah, you can use your mom's maiden name. As long as I understand what's going on, we're all good. Feel free to give me like little comments in there if you want to help explain your symbols or whatever. You guys can put little comments in there. That's kind of fun for me to understand kind of more what your ideas are. So you guys getting that you can create your own stuff, right? So you went and you created this shape and you say, oh, I want to duplicate that one over and over again. You decide whether it's going to be better to make it be a symbol or if it's better to make it be a brush. Yeah, I think it could save you guys a lot of time, and you know, you're limited only by your own creativity, so you really can go in there and just play with stuff. Let me give you another one. So this one's called the blend tool. Did I show you guys the blend tool before? I don't think I did, but I could have. Okay, we're just gonna go with it. Blue. Okay, we gotcha. I don't want another circle, I want a rectangle. Now what I'm doing is I'm showing you guys the blend tool, and this is really cool because what it's doing is actually taking your, I'm gonna flip the stroke and the fill on that one. I'm gonna do rectangle on here. And it's kind of blending things together. So it's taking things that you maybe want to work with. So I did this with like steps. So I used steps, and I was able to create some I created the top shape and I created the bottom shape, and then I let it do the other part. So we're going to do a polygon here, and let's do the stroke as a yellow, and to the outside as a dark green. Okay, so this is the blend tool right here, and what happens is I click on one and I click on the other, and it does things in multiple ways. So if I double click on this, what you'll see is I get my tool show up, about how I can play with this. I can do smooth color. Now let me do that one first so you guys can see what that looks like. Okay, I'm gonna click from here to here, and you'll see what it does is a smooth color. So if I click off of that, you can see that it's transforming it from the ellipse into this shape, and it's doing it with smooth color. I'm gonna Command Z to undo that. Let me show you another one. I want to do this one with specified steps. I'm just double clicking on that to reactivate it. Click on this one and click on this one. So what you see now is it's changing it from one to the other in 8 steps. So you can see the steps. If I go to pull on any one of these points here, you'll see that it modifies it based on the points that I pulled. Okay. Now let me Command Z that back. There's one more that's in here, and that's specified distance. So what it does is it makes the change over a certain distance. So again, you get all these individual pieces. So I'm actually gonna do this whole thing in steps. So I'm gonna show you guys that you can really play with this. So I'm gonna click on, I'm not doing anything, I don't have to select them or anything, I'm just clicking on the shape. Click on this shape, this one, this one, this one, this one. Now, right now, the only thing that exists are these 4 outside shapes. If I manipulate any one of these shapes, you'll notice that all the guys on the inside will also change based on what I have going on there. But let's just say, I can do a couple of things. I can play with these points, right, and I can move them. I can convert that straight point to a curved point with my anchor point tool. Okay. And then if I really want these and I want to keep them all as individual shapes, I want all these shapes that are in between, I go up here to Object and Expand. And now I can do both the object and the fill. And now they're all individual objects. So now these ones that weren't, it was just the outside shapes originally, now all these guys are individual shapes. You kind of have to ungroup them because they're being grouped. Anyway, let's just say I want to grab this guy. Now these are all individual shapes. Yeah, you can play. I guess what I'm kind of doing is I'm just kind of expanding your creativity. So you guys will start thinking about some of these things in different ways, right? So that you're not just, oh, I have to stick with these specific tools. No, there's tons of things out there for you guys to play with. Cool? All right, so let me give you a couple more. I'm going to play with some of these other things over here. I'm going to close these ones out. I think you guys have what you need there for that. What's that one? Okay. All right. Let me start with outdoor dog here. And this used to be an assignment that we had in the classroom. This, if you guys can go play with this one, it's in the file. An outdoor dog is live paint. So this is, let's say that you created your own item and you want to go now paint it. What we did was we created this all into points. I do need to play with this a little bit. Now, first thing I want you guys to notice is, see how the eyeballs are hollow? That's just because right now, if we go up here to view, it's on outline mode. And we're going to actually put it on preview CPU. Okay. Now, it looks like nothing's there, but it really is. So I'm going to turn off the eyeball on the background, and I'm going to unlock Doggy. And I'm going to come up here and highlight it. I'm going to go up to Object, Live Paint, Make. Okay. Then I'm going to choose my Live Paint option over here on the side. Let me see if I can remember where it's at. I think there it is. It's underneath your Shape Builder tool. And then you click over here on your swatches and you kind of get yourself in the right place. Right now, if I look at my little cursor, what you'll see is this is the one that's in the center. If I click right here on the green, you'll notice that the green is in the center. Can you see that? And the color that's in the center is the one that's going to be where we put the color. So let's just say we're going to make a brown doggy. Wherever I put my cursor over it, that's where I'm going to put that brown color. Now what you guys might do is you might watch some videos on this just to make sure that you feel really comfortable with it. But I wanted to at least introduce it to you so that you guys would can look it up and go find out how to do it better. But then I can hit the right and left keys. Remember those arrow keys that are next to your number keys? See how it's moving through them? So I can put a gradient. We'll put a gradient on his body. He's got a gradient body and a gradient nose. So if I click off of this, you'll see what I've created and where the colors are lying. So if we look over here on this one, now I can turn off Doggy. I can turn on background. So you guys can see what we have going on here. You can see I've got some sky, I've got some mountains, so maybe I'll just put some color down here on the bottom. And there it is, okay. Colors, let's do some green grass down here. I need to go to Live Paint Make. Nope, this isn't enough color. There it is. And then let's do this pool. And sometimes it's a little bit, so you see how we're kind of painting? So now if I turn on Doggy, you can see that it would combine the picture together. Like giving you guys some ideas. Sorry, I wish I had more time. We only have 4 weeks to teach you guys, but at least if I'm just giving you just some smattering of things that will be helpful to you. Okay. Let me see. I can find the Doggy. Not sure where Doggy is. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I have. Okay, you guys can do this with any kind of image, so let me just show you one from an old class where we used to do this as part of an assignment. Let's see, let me find old files. I think it was week 3. Yeah. Okay, so let me show you image or live trace. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate my layer. So I'm just going to drag it down here on top of the one that says make new layer, and it just duplicates the layer. So I'm just going to duplicate it 3 times. I'm going to leave the bottom layer alone so you guys can see the original. And then I'm going to click on this one right here. So when you click on a JPEG, what it does is it gives you this option up here at the top for image trace. So let me kind of zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. So what I'm going to do is click over here on this, and I'm going to kind of walk you guys through it a little bit what it looks like. So if I do shades of gray, you guys can see what doggy will look like with shades of gray. This is just the computer interpreting the information. So sometimes it works out really well and you get what you want. Sometimes it doesn't. You get something funky. Okay. Oh, I have this layer on top so you guys can't see it. This is what it looks like with shades of gray. So if I come back over here, I can still play with it. So 3 colors. You can see that the current computer's just sort of interpreting what it sees as the shapes, the shades, the colors. This is 6 color. Now, when this used to be an assignment, I would recommend the students didn't go past 6 color just because of the complication and how complicated it can get. So I'm going to leave this one at 6 color, and then I'm going to show you one that becomes even more real. So that's the 6 color. Let me show you what the original looks like. And this is 6 color. And I'll explain to you in just a second why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to click on this guy right here. I'm going to do what would be a nice quality image. I'm going to do high fidelity photo. Okay. So I want you guys to see the quality of this one. It's asking a lot, so it's taking a second for it to actually process it. Okay, so this is the high fidelity photo. Let me kind of play with my layers here. This is the 6 color. Turn that back on. And then this is the original. So this is high fidelity photo, and this is the original. So pretty good, right? So are you guys ready to see what happens? I mean, I can manipulate these now. I can go through and I can change these, but let me show you what happens on this one. So right now I haven't actually made it editable. I can't edit anything on this dude. But if I'm going to click on this right here, I'm going to choose this button that says expand. And now all those little blue dots are editable. So you'll see my cursor going over this. Let me just say I'm going to change that part right there and a little red eye. Poopy. I'm gonna give him a little red eye. Okay. And now you can see that I just made a change on him, right? But now let's take a look at 16 color, my photorealistic one right here. Looks beautiful, right? Now, let me expand this one and let me show you what happens. I giggle when this happens. Okay, who wants to edit that? Anybody? Anybody want to go and edit that? You're in? All right. Every one of those blue dots is editable. Derek's like, no. Amy wants an energy drink. Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't always interpret things exactly like you think it's going to interpret it. So it can be a little bit of a challenge, but you guys can see, you know, sometimes making this decision. And the other thing you got to know is this dude is now a huge file. Because now he has all these gazillions of editable points in there, and I just made a really big file. So that can be an additional challenge in there. Cool? Yes, it's a JPEG, right? So if it's a JPEG, I've actually done it on a PSD file, I think. So yes. The thing that happens, let me click back on this bottom layer down here. Let me turn off the top points here. The thing that happens is once you click on it and it's a JPEG, then the tools come up here. Now you guys can also grab the tools from here. Let's see what it's called. I think it's called image trace. There it is. And this also gives you pretty much what you get up here at the top. So you can, again, just play with the same elements and play with the thresholds to have it be more complex or less. You click on the preview down here so you can see what it's doing. And then you can play with some of the presets up here, which are the same ones I was playing with across the top, to create your effect. So you could bring this up as well. It's just another window that you can look at to give you a little bit more, but it's pretty much the same as the one we did at the top. So just something else for you guys to play with, right? But you do need something, you know, that it can interpret. So JPEGs, PNGs, mostly image files are what you need for this. Okay, moving on. Chunka, chunka, chunka. I'm just going to get as far as I can through this stuff. So I want to give you guys this big stuff first, and then I'm going to go play with these other files and show you some of the other cool things that we have to play with here. So there's a lot of these, a lot of other tools that are located in here. This one's fun because we can play with it a little bit of 3D-ish here. So I'm going to duplicate this layer so we can play with it twice. The first one that we can do is we can use that reflect tool. I've used it a lot in this class. So that's object, transform, reflect. Copy. Just pull it over. Now, if I get this close up here at the top, one of the things you guys will notice, if I flip my stroke and my fill, I'm going to have like this little weird effect. So some people are like, well, it's not working. Why aren't I getting any color? Or they don't get any color, or they get funky color. So what you can do is if you didn't close your shapes and you need to go back and close them later, you can use your little white arrow tool. You drag your cursor over the top up here. You can go to, you might just match them up a little bit better spacing wise too, but you can go to Object, Path, and Join. Something like that. Let me try that again. Object, Path, Join. Nope, they're not close enough. It looks close, but apparently it's not. Please go up one. Okay, Object, Path, Join. Okay, well it's being kind of poopy. Okay, no problem, Derek. For your shield, to flip them side by side, go to Object up here, Path, and let's just do Average. And this is just another way of joining them together. And you can choose this option that says both, and then it'll make them connect. Okay. I can do the same thing up here, Object, Path, Average, and then it will join them together. So now you'll see that it fills with color completely, and you'll have what you're looking for. Okay. Oh, yeah, I mean, that's fine too. I would actually just do the whole outline for the shape. I just think that's a little bit easier, but that's me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to show you guys another 3D thing, and I can't promise you my computer is going to play properly, so at least I'll show you guys and you can do it on your computer. I'm going to go up here to Effect, 3D, and I'm going to choose, I think it's Revolve on this one. Now we're going to choose Preview, and you'll see that it's doing it 360 degrees. And you'll see what it does is it takes that shape and it duplicates it and rotates it around 360 degrees. Can you see that? Isn't that cool? Let's do it 270. Let me click off that, and then you guys can see it. And what I can do is I can also rotate this. And you can see that I don't have 360 degrees. I'm actually looking at the inside of it. But if I went back and put it back to 360 degrees, but all it's doing is it's taking that shape and rotating it. And I can flip it. Right now it's left edge. Let's see what we create when we do right edge. Now I have like what looks like a candlestick holder. A candle holder. It's got mad at me, I think. Let's see if we'll do it. So what we're saying is from one edge, it makes something that looks like a chess pawn or a salt shaker, and we do it from the other edge, and it looks like it's supposed to hold an ornate candle or something. So that's just another way that we can play with a shape, and we can do something that where we're doing that kind of repeating. Down here, when you guys do the intermediate, last time I taught it, there was this option to map the art onto it. So they created the object, and then you created what you're going to map on there. And then you mapped it onto your object. Kind of a little bit complex, but pretty fun stuff. I wanted to give you a little bit more 3D just because it's cool. Okay. So another one that we have, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this tool down from here. I'm going to come up here to my window, and I'm going to pull down Pathfinder. Okay. So with Pathfinder comes the Align tool and the Transform tools. So a lot of times you'll find them over here in your properties. So we might find them over here. I don't see what we're looking for there, but if I click on this, let me see if it comes up now. Nope. So sometimes you do just need to pull out your tools. I can slide it in here for now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I can be over here on my layers. I can see kind of how I created this. You'll see that the text is locked. You'll see that if you look at this dude right here, let me turn off this inside circle. This is just a gradient. Can you see the gradient over here on the color fill thingy over here? So it creates this little guy, and let's just say, hey, I want to change this background, and I'm going to change it to this blue color right here. Yeah, I want this blue right there. I want it to look. Then I got this red thing in the middle. I'm like, oh, that's not exactly what I want it to look like. So there's some tools down here in your Pathfinder where you can actually punch holes into stuff based on what you have selected. So I'm going to select this and the inside circle. So I'm going to make sure that these are both selected. And then I can do some different things. So what you'll notice is the color that's on top is going to influence what happens underneath it. So this one right here punches a hole right through the center, right? So minus front. So whatever's in front is going to get minus. Command Z. This one right here unites. So it makes everything to be the same. This one right here is just pays attention to what it intersects. This one excludes the center, excludes it, but it took the color of the top color. Now, one of my favorite tools is this one right here called Divide. And what Divide does is it allows me to control it. So now I can come back here and I can click on that and I can just hit delete on that shape, and I can just delete it and it punches a hole through it. So these can be really fun to kind of work with to create sort of different effects. All right, so let's take this one. This one's kind of fun. Need a black arrow tool on that. And pull this up and make this kind of mapped up here. Okay. Any idea what this is going to be? It is going to be a heart in just a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on these different ones. If I took a look at my layers, I'm going to pay attention to which one's on top. So I'm going to make this one be yellow. I'm going to make this one be green. I'm going to make this one be, actually, I'm going to make this one be red. I'm going to make this one be green. Now, what I can do is I come down here and use that one that was called Unite, right? It's, again, it's going to be pulling from the color that's on top. So if I were to make this rectangle here on top be that color, then I would have the option just to make that be red. So I'm going to make that be red. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to pull this straight down. Now I have a heart, right? So what it did was it actually made this all one shape. And now I've got that shape. Okay, so now let's do this. Now I'm going to take a rectangle. And I'm going to take a couple of ellipses. That's not an ellipse, that's called a polygon. Take a couple of ellipses. Okay, I'm going to duplicate that. Let's think about the hair. Okay, now I'm going to flip my stroke and my fill on this one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this option. I think it is, I think I want intersect. Not that they are overlapping, but okay. Oops, not that one. There it goes. Okay. Now I'm going to flip my stroke and my fill. I'm going to take this dude right here. I'm going to put my cursor there. I'm going to rotate it around. If you guys play cards, you know what this is, right? What is this? It's a spade. Yeah. And then I'm going to just choose Unite. And I've now created a spade. So this is just using these tools right here under my Pathfinder. Okay, this one's super fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this line right here. And I'm going to tell it to go to Object, Transform, and Rotate. I'm going to tell it to go 30 degrees. I'm going to tell it to copy. Now, what I can do is I can hit Command or Control D, and it's duplicating. So Command or Control D to duplicate. I can do that, and then I can go across the whole thing like this and drag across it, and I can click on the divide. Now I'm going to use my white arrow tool, and I can make this orange, this yellow, this orange, this yellow. Let's see if I can try the Control key. I think I can do it. Oh, I have to do it individually. Well, this one's kind of fun at Christmas time. Little tree topper. We're a little past Christmas now. Not as much fun for that. But what you guys can see is that it's now divided all those into individual shapes, allows me to color them individually. Cool? Okay, let me zoom in on this one. I'm just going to put my cursor over the top of this. I'm going to drag across both of these, and I'm going to tell it to exclude. I want to do, let me see if I do intersection. Nope, I'm going to do the other one. That one. Yeah. And then I can just click on this outside piece right here. Make this one be a little darker. It looks like I've got a little bit of a 3D effect on that one. Okay, this is fun. This is masking. Masking is most commonly done in Photoshop. But let me open my layers so that you can kind of see what happens. Now these two shapes, this these circles right here and this rectangle right here are on top. So whenever we mask, whatever we mask has to be on top. So I'm going to show you guys a couple different ways of masking. They're super cool, super fun to do. I'm going to click and drag this dude on top. Oops, off-road tool cherry. I'm using the selection tool. Let me zoom in a little bit on this guy. You can watch your layers over here too, and you'll see what it does. So I'm going to go up here to, oh, I need to select them both, sorry. I have to select them both so it knows what it's doing. I go up to your object, clipping mask, make. Okay. Now, when I go to click on it, these balls are still here, right? So if I go to look right here underneath, I can see these balls are still there, but they're being masked out. So if I turn off the eyeball on that mask, you'll see that they show back up. Fun, right? It's the same thing with this guy. We come up on top, select all these, object, clipping mask, make. Now it looks like I got a little gumball machine thingy there. Then if I want to, I can click on the layer for that one, click on just that layer and give it a little bit of a stroke. Looks like I'm looking like into a little gumball window. See, all those little circles are still there. They didn't go anywhere, they're just being masked out. So again, if I turn off this layer, they're still there. This is non-destructive. It's kind of like what we talk about in Photoshop with being non-destructive in Photoshop. Okay, this one's cool because this one is actually going to use the letters as a mask. So we've already created with the letters are already created in outlines. So if we look at them, you guys will see that they're already been created in outlines. But what we want to do is we're going to actually click on those and we're going to make them into object, compound path, and make. So what we're doing is we're turning them into a grouped item that they're all now their own object and they're combined together as a path. So now I'm going to combine that together with the shape, with what's underneath it. So I'm going to click on both and hold on my shift key and select both of those. So everybody's selected. I'm going to go to object, clipping mask, and make. And now my letters are acting as a mask. So if we look right here and I click on the little arrow next to it, if I turn that off, you guys will see that's still there. So now I'm going to play with these. So I'm just going to kind of move them around. I'm going to group those together because they like to, oops, I didn't do it that way. From them. Another group. Put those guys up here. When you group them, you have to select them with the black arrow tool. Put this down here. Put this right here. Now watch what happens. I'm going to drag each of these underneath the mask. And look how it changes it. So I'm put that one in the mask. That one in the mask. And now all those shapes are being masked out. They're all still there, but they're just being masked out by what's in front of them. Fun? Yes. Yes. Okay, I don't remember if this one's been created into a... Okay, so I think this has already been converted. It's just text. Or do I need to convert that? I think I need to convert that. Nope, must be it. Oh, let me select it. Oopsie. Oh, so I create outlines. And then I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on, I'm going to leave this selected, and I'm going to choose this option right here that says draw behind. That way, if I draw a shape and I draw it behind it, let me show you what this looks like. Oops. Have that selected. Draw behind. Is it going to work? I might not be able to play with this one because I can't remember the steps. Like, let me do it on this. Okay, so if I go to do something and I want to draw over the top of this, if I put this on, should put a little dotted line around the outside. So hold on. There it goes. Okay. So that way, if I do another circle like this, and I put a color on it, what you guys will see is that it's drawing behind that shape. So it's not able to, it acts like a mask. So let me try that again with this one. So draw behind. I'm going to do a circle. I'm going to draw it like that. We'll put a color on it. Oh, it's because this one up here is selected. So if I put it up here, you guys can see it. Try that again on this one. Object, compound ethnic, color. Let me draw. Oops. Let me draw the shape. Make it be yellow. And you guys can see that it masked it again by drawing behind it. Yeah, well, I think you guys will have fun. And again, you know, this is only like an introduction to stuff. So when you guys really get excited about, you know, this stuff and you want to play with it a little bit more, you know, you can go in there and sort of, you know, videos. But as long as you kind of know what it's called, then you can figure out what you're looking for. So those are all, they should all be located in the announcement that I did before class. So that is in a zipped file, and I think I have all those ones. The only thing that's not in there is the doggy that I did, where I did the image. You can use any picture for that. We did image trace. The rest of those should be in there. So outdoor doggies in there. The big thing with this one, guys, is to make sure that you have it selected, and then you're going to actually have to go up here where it says, see, it looks like that. And you need to have it all selected, and then you need to come up here and preview on CPU. and then you'll be able to put the color in it. That's the big place where people can make mistakes. And then you can kind of go in and play with that. So it's just a smattering of different tools that you can play with. And then when it comes to the blend tool or the making your own brush or the symbols, those are all ones that you can use in your assignment for this final artboard, this final, for your shield. What questions do you guys have for me? Amy's doing okay? Jasmine, you doing okay? Any questions that you think someone else might have that's not here to ask me questions? Now, guys, if you want to play with these and it's still not part of your assignment or your assessment and you still want to come in and play with them and you want me to help you with them during the multi-session, you guys can come in and use the multi-session for that as well. I don't know, Christine, I'm sure knows all these things, so you could talk to her about them as well, but for me, for sure, you guys can come in and play with them. If you want to do a little bit more with what you're working with. So I'm here on Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 p.m., so it'll be an hour before now. I'm here for 2 hours until 7. Questions for me? I know you guys said you had no questions, but I'm still checking back in since I just gave you more information. Good? Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was fun working with you guys this term. And I hope that you learn lots of basic stuff about Illustrator and you guys have at least some comfort level with the tools, and the pen tool doesn't look terrifying to you and you feel okay getting it done. All right. Have a good night, guys.